Hey everyone, welcome to Ludicrous Feed Live. I am your host, Tom. Thank you so much for joining us. Tonight marks a new chapter in our live streams. We'll be building on the regular segments on what you know and love, and of course, with a slightly different structure. Hopefully, this new format will give you some regularity as to what to expect moving forward. Each new episode, each week, we will have a special guest as well. And as per the episode title, we'll be tracking the progress of electric vehicle adoption here in Australia, both internally, with a little state of origin each week, comparing how each state and territory is going against each other, as well as externally comparing our country with the rest of the world, see how we're tracking with Europe, Asia, and America. So a more structured format, and you'll know what to expect each week. So hello if you're watching this live, and a special hello to also people watching in the live stream comments. Feel free to add a comment or a question if you're a channel subscriber, and a warm welcome too if you're watching this on replay, and a very special welcome if you're watching for the first time via podcast. Yes, we will be distributing this audio from our live streams each week from the shows to all your favorite podcast destinations. So look out for that as well. You can listen to us in the car, or if you're cooking or doing whatever you do around the house or the workplace. All right, I want to welcome our regular guests, of course. We've got Riz from Carloop and also Rahul as well. Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Hey Tom, hey Rahul, good to have you back.
Thank you, Riz.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back, Tom. Riz, good to see you.
Thank you, gents. Yes, it's lovely to be back. We had a couple of weeks in Singapore. You might have seen my Formula One video. Had a great time there. And many thanks again to Darren Yung, a local YouTuber there, who showed me around Google Singapore. That was quite a treat for me and the family. So thank you, Darren. Shout out to you if you're listening or watching tonight. All right, so what have we got? So currently, I would like to thank tonight's live stream partners. We've got Joa, Hansho, and EVSE. Joa do Tesla accessories. Make sure if you are buying anything from Joa, use my coupon code TESLATOM5 for 5% off site-wide. Hansho for modifications and accessories to your Tesla, 15% off site-wide using the code TESLATOM. And EVSE, who do chargers, charging cables, everything to do with charging. Use my coupon code TESLATOM as well for 5% off site-wide. And I just want to quickly highlight the accessory of the week. I'll try and do this each week to just showcase something I have seen just quickly. There you go. So that is the Joa, I guess, touch-up paint. If you want to sort of eradicate any scratches from your car. So that's a red one there. And some sort of OEM paint colors for the Tesla and the wheels as well. So I did a video this week, so make sure you check that out too. All right, so that's a Joa touch-up paint, 5% off with the TESLATOM5 coupon code. And also a quick shout out as well before we do that, I want to talk about a slight hiccup with Model Y performance delivery for Australia. So this week you might have seen my video as well. Our estimated delivery date was meant to be November to February. It's now been pushed back to January to March 2023, unfortunately. That's okay. We will talk about that later on as well in the Tesla news section. But as I said in the video, not too upset. Hopefully we get some new features with the 2023 build. And a special shout out as well to our members, particularly the performance members watching tonight. Let's list them quickly. Gaffer, Such Developments, Peter Cook, Paula Chappell, Mike AU, Viet Huang, Scott McGregor, and of course, the one and only Riz, who is a regular guest as well. Thank you everyone for supporting the channel. If you'd like to support us, make sure you head out to ludicrousfeed.com for more information. And if you're watching via YouTube, just click on the join below as well. And a special shout out this week, the happiest of birthdays to Uncle Jojo from his favorite niece and nephew Harry and Maddie, who think he's a total hero for being a double Tesla owner. There you go. And this person who shouted out his uncle also donated to the Children's Hospital here in Sydney on our behalf. So thank you very much and happy birthday, Uncle Jojo, this week. All right, let's, without further ado, I'll just put on this too. Jez, thank you very much, Jez, for pledging $2 to the stream tonight. He says, "Hi, Tom, Rahul, and Riz watching live for the first time." Hey, welcome, Jez. Thank you. All right, so let's introduce our guest for tonight. So I'll just put on the slide. All right. So we've got Anthony from the Good Car Company joining us tonight. I'll just put him on the stream there so we can see him. Anthony, hello there. Nice to see you, and welcome to Ludicrous Feed Live.
Very nice to see you all as well.
All right, I'll just give you a quick spiel about Anthony. So the Good Car Company, I'll just read this because I think this sums up the Good Car Company very well on their About page. We started the Good Car Company with the goal of creating a cleaner, safer and healthier Australia. As three environmental scientists, we are unlikely founders of a car business, but desperate times call for desperate measures. We felt terrible about every puff of smoke from our cars that was contributing to the climate crisis. We recognized the importance of switching to electric vehicles, EVs, but there were no affordable options available. So we imported one. We then worked with our community to create the world's first community electric vehicle bulk buy. We are now delivering hundreds of cars all around Australia. And of course, I just want to congratulate Anthony as well, who from and the rest of the Good Car team. They also received a $10 million investment from Boundless, a philanthropic organization chaired by tech billionaire Mike Cannon-Brookes. More on that later. That's also the first investment from Boundless as well. So congratulations, Anthony, on that big win.
Thank you.
All right, Anthony. So let's talk a little bit about the Good Car Company. So I guess, we sort of saw why you guys started it. When did you actually start this company?
Well, it was back in 2019, just after the election. So we realized we're not going to have very much positive action in the climate change space. And being from Tasmania, we were looking at one of the sectors that had the highest rising rates of emissions, and that was transport. And so we thought, gosh, we've got to do something about that. Maybe we should try converting vehicles. So we have an old Toyota Hilux that we ripped the guts out of and realized that was actually a lot of work and difficult to scale. So we looked over the ditch and saw that New Zealand had, at that time, 14,000 EVs. They're a tenth of the population and well ahead of us. And the majority of those vehicles were imported electric cars, secondhand, from Japan. So we thought, easy enough to do. They're already built from the ground up as electric vehicles. They're much safer. It's something that we could do on scale.
Now, my understanding is that it's not as easy to import EVs if you want to do it yourself in Australia compared to other countries like New Zealand. What kind of barriers did you come across on your first import?
Gosh.
Briefly.
I think in retrospect, if we were to do it all over again, I probably wouldn't be doing this. There's so many points of friction along the entire supply chain. So we've worked really hard to try and aggregate all those costs throughout the supply chain and deliver more affordable vehicles and automate a lot of our systems as well. So we're really getting to the point where we are getting a lot more of an efficient process. We've been doing a lot of working with some of the changes that have happened with the import and compliance rules. And we do a lot of work in the policy and, advocacy lobbying space. We get that concentrated uptake and we're able to use that as a policy lever. So it's a great discussion point with decision makers at local, state and federal government level, with utilities, being able to talk about 100 new vehicles in your neighborhood, in your electorate, voting individuals, everyday Australians that are, I guess, voting with their actions and going electric. So it's actually really quite a powerful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure our viewers can relate to that. People strike up conversations all the time when they see us at chargers or just around the place with EVs. Now, obviously, one of the major drawbacks of owning an EV or buying an EV is the cost. For some, it's actually quite prohibitive. Obviously, importing used cars from overseas does reduce the cost as well for the average buyer in Australia.
Yeah, in a big way. So we get used vehicles from Japan and the UK, and we're actively sourcing out new models as well, being able to bring in vehicles which aren't represented here in Australia. So I think that's the other pillar of what we're doing: affordability and accessibility, being able to provide a greater choice of electric vehicles as well. We have a handful of electric cars here, whereas over in the UK, for example, they have hundreds. And so our mandate is to bring as many of them over here as we possibly can. And given, electric vehicles, they're pretty good at holding their value, but still that upfront purchase price is still a big barrier for a lot of people. So being able to bring them over here, as we all know, there's very little that actually goes wrong with electric vehicles. There's, the battery diagnostics that we do. We do aesthetic and mechanical checks, but beyond that, I mean, they're incredibly reliable vehicles that have a very long life in them. And the next step of what we're looking at is, how do we consider those vehicles that very little goes wrong in them? The batteries do degrade, as all batteries do over time. What do we do at that next phase of their life? We've done a couple of battery replacements and looking into the possibilities of being able to do localized manufacturing of batteries here in Australia, which opens up a whole world of opportunity. And the main reason why we're doing this is that these are big batteries on wheels. They're batteries and computers, and they have the potential to decarbonize not only transport but energy. And so being able to utilize these vehicles to run your home, aggregated and coordinated together to be able to support the energy network, that means that we can get to 100% renewables and beyond, and also create business models where everyday people with their vehicles that more often than not sit idle, they can be earning money and be handsomely compensated for being able to participate in the energy system. So it's a democratization of energy, and that's really beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Anthony. I like the fact that even though you're called the Good Car Company, the deeper you delve into your website, you can see that you guys are very holistic in your approach. And I think any EV owner in Australia or worldwide will see that eventually you start with the EV, but you realize actually it's a part of the whole infrastructure, solar panels.
Yeah.
As you said, it's a whole ecosystem with batteries and the life cycle of that battery and how it can, work for you at every stage as well.
Yeah, and beyond the life in the car, you also have an asset which can be deployed as stationary storage. That's phenomenal. And then, even with today's technology and processes, we can recover up to 98% of the materials in those batteries and reuse them. That's going to be an incredibly lucrative industry of doing urban mining. I don't have any fears about, creating a problem down the line. I think we're just creating opportunity by bringing these here. And hopefully putting us into the space where we're not global laggards anymore and not at the risk of being the dumping ground of internal combustion engines, petrol, diesel, and hybrid.
Yep, 100%. That's providing choices. That's what you guys are doing as well. And
Important.
I vouch for the fact that they last a long time. As you guys might know, I own a 7-year-old Tesla Model S, still going strong, 300 plus kilometers of range, which I've just taken off the market as well, partially because the Model Y has been delayed. So those of you looking at the ad, it's gone for now. Now, we spoke, Anthony, at a previous event in Sydney. We talked about when you import one of these cars, you also give security to the buyer that you look after the whole aspect of that ownership initially and beyond, such as the insurance aspect of it, the servicing or lack thereof, or if any, the repairs. That's true, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Putting a warranty on the vehicles as well, giving a return policy, ongoing support, essentially giving you the same benefits that you would have with a new vehicle, and really trying to unpick any arguments that powerful lobby groups might have against having electric vehicles and imported secondhand electric vehicles. They're essentially just giving us a blueprint for a business model to go forward. So if we address every single possible complaint, then we've got a really solid business model that also gives people faith and confidence that they can make the switch to electric. And I think one of the biggest things is like the education and the experience. If you give somebody an electric car for a couple of days, they're converted. It's really important to have the hands-on experience with an electric car.
Yep, 100%. It's a totally different experience. I agree. I've got a question from the audience here. So Gaffer is asking, so we need EV vans and utes. Can we get them secondhand out of Japan? I know the Good Car Company does specialize a little bit in commercial vehicles.
Yeah, so we have electric vans that we're getting out of the UK actually. So we're started off with the Peugeot e-Expert. Oh, actually, we got the EMV 200, which is a Nissan vehicle. It's smaller, almost like the size of a VW Caddy or the size of a EMV 200. That provides us with a 7-seater, 5-seater, 2-seater options. And then the Peugeot e-Expert is a 75 kilowatt hour battery, which gives you over 350 kilometers range. And so that for a tradie vehicle is really appealing. The ute, we still haven't got that yet. We're looking for utes and we're actively sourcing them. There's a bit of a process. When we find a vehicle, we have to bring it into the country as a sample. We have to compile an entire really rigorous process to get the evidence pack together, just to clearly show that it complies with Australian road design rules. And it has to have the equivalent of the ANCAP safety rating. So if we're getting them from Japan or the UK, they actually have higher safety standards. They're more stringent with both their emissions and their safety standards. And those vehicles are more often than not higher spec than what we get delivered to Australia. So we're definitely able to access a better range of electric vehicles. Stay tuned for the ute.
Yeah, that'll be a game changer for sure. I know we'll talk about the LDV later on in the stream, announcing their utes brand new in Australia. I've got a reasonable question here from Greg, one of our members. He asks, if these cars are so good, why are other countries getting rid of them?
So in Japan, they have a really odd taxation rule that basically just taxes the vehicles out of the market. After a couple of years of ownership, it becomes progressively more and more expensive to keep that vehicle on the road. And so it's stated that it's meant to be for emission standards. With electric vehicles, obviously that's a different proposition, but the main thing is that it creates churn for the auto industry. I think that's the biggest driver, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. From the UK, getting those vehicles, it's a lot harder. I mean, we purchase some of those vehicles from the factory floor, and other ones we work with fleet providers over there and select those vehicles which fit our requirements.
Cool. Let's talk a bit about how, if I were to buy a car from the Good Car Company, I believe there are two ways you can do this. On your website, you can actually purchase it privately through you as a single person. But you can also buy as part of a bulk buy. I'm curious to find out from you what that means exactly.
So the bulk buy, I guess we were able to deliver even more cost savings by being able to put in a mass order. But more importantly, it's those other benefits that come more broadly to the wider community. By doing the bulk buy, we're able to deliver greater benefits. Like with some partners, they have different mandates. We basically pick a community partner or an environmental NGO or a council that have a very clear mandate for emissions reduction. And we're able to work with them to do things like public charging infrastructure or some other benefit that's going to be beyond those people that just get the electric car. And then there's the cost savings. So, it's a win-win all around.
Okay, so I'm seeing on your website, obviously, there are events coming up. I saw one near my area in north of Sydney. So, and then you can register for those events. Do you turn up for an information session and then maybe, book a car or buy a car that you might be interested in?
Yeah, so there's a bit of a change that's happening now with the new investment. But essentially, the next one that we're running is in Randwick on the 22nd of October. That's going to be at the Randwick Community Centre there. We're doing test drives, information sessions. We also do online information sessions as well, and run the campaign for a month and give people the opportunity to jump in and get themselves an electric car. The other model that we have is for fleets. So we work with OEMs here in Australia to be able to provide access to electric vehicles as well. And so we were able to get prioritized supply So people aren't in line waiting for months on end, years on end in some cases, and also some fleet pricing that's passed on. So the benefits for that, you're able to, regardless of where you're coming from, you can salary sacrifice and bundle your vehicle in, which now with the new laws which are coming through, the fringe benefit tax exemption, which isn't fully in yet, it's still going through Senate at the moment, but that will essentially provide fringe benefit tax exemptions for all electric vehicles, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. And what about like state by state exemptions? Like in New South Wales, you get a $30,000 rebate. Sorry, a $3,000 rebate.
30,000.
I wish 30,000. $3,000 rebate for a secondhand vehicle or just an EV in general. Does that apply to your cars as well?
Yeah, so it depends on whether they're new or secondhand for those ones for the rebate. There is a stamp duty exemption which applies to all EVs. And state by state, I mean, there's some states which are really going hard at it. ACT, for example, they've been leaders in the sense that they've got one scheme which is offering a $15,000 interest-free loan, which isn't that much, but it definitely helps with the upfront purchase price. There's stamp duty exemptions in most states, and the benefits that are offered through subsidies do a lot to even in states where they have the road excise. What is it? The mileage tax, the road usage charge. It's definitely offset by any other benefits that you get. And even the road usage charge, it isn't that much. I mean, it's 2.5 cents a kilometer. You drive 10,000 Ks and that's $250. You save so much more with your fuel expenditure and maintenance. It's still a very appealing thing to have an EV.
Yeah, we've got some Victorians in the chat, so we might get some comments about that. See how they feel.
Sure.
Rego time's coming up for some, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So let's before we move on to the investment from Boundless, just give me a ballpark, and for the viewers as well, for let's say a Nissan Leaf from Japan secondhand. What kind of mileage are we expecting, and what kind of figures are we talking price wise?
How long is a piece of string? It varies so much depending on the model. So our vehicles start around $20,000, and that's for a 24 kilowatt hour Leaf. They're great in a city runabouts. So you get about 110 kilometer range on that, which does not seem like much at all. But if the average daily commute is less than 50 Ks, then that's more than enough to drive around, plug into your regular power point and charge it overnight. It's basically like your phone. You save so much money in that. If you go up to the next model, the 30 kilowatt hour Leaf, it's about $28,000 to $30,000. That gives you about 180K range. The next model up is the 40 kilowatt hour Leaf, which gets you around 240K range, and that's around $38,000. And then the 62 kilowatt hour Leaf is high 40s, low 50s, still saving significantly. And in some use cases, many use cases, we've got some people who have played around with different finance options, like they've remortgaged their house and found that the cost of the additional interest payments far outweigh the savings that they're getting. So they might pay an extra $200 a month on their mortgage or on their loan, but they save $400 a month on their fuel costs. So they're still winning and driving electric.
Yep, 100%. And obviously with rising fuel costs in Australia and the rest of the world, EVs make a lot of sense personally.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to this $10 million investment from Boundless, chaired by Mike Cannon-Brookes, and there's a lovely picture of yourself and your team there.
Yeah, there's Sam and Anton there.
Yeah, the other founders of Good Car Company. Walk us through this. Was this a shock? Were you expecting this?
No, we weren't. When I got the first email through from Boundless, it was just an invitation to connect and have a chat about the company. And we get a lot of invitations to discuss partnerships with all sorts of providers of sustainable things. I actually thought that it was like a skincare company. But then I saw in the invite that it was, Cannon-Brookes in the Zoom, and I thought, wow, this is actually something that I've been talking about for a long time. I've always wanted to find the right kind of impact investors that have the right values alignment as well. So we've been courted by quite a lot of investors over the last few years, but the values alignment wasn't there. It is really important, I think, for the long-term sustainability of what we're doing, that we are taking investment from foundations or impact investors, VCs, whatever it might be, that are very much committed to climate action as well. I think if we're taking the money from the wrong places, then we're just kind of continuing the status quo. And that's, we need to have a big transition, and we need to shake up the way that things are done. So yeah, we couldn't be happier with having both, Boundless and Cameron Adams, who is one of the co-founders of Canva as well, come and support us. So it's a nice nod of the tip of the hat, a validation that we're doing the right thing, and it's great for this being, I guess, the first investment that unlocks a lot more capital. So this gives us a tenfold scaling, and we're looking to do that year on year. Obviously, there's a limit to how many tenfold scales that we can do, but we would like to be delivering a couple of 100,000 cars, in the next few years. So it's an interesting thing when you look at what global supply of electric vehicles. We have a number of constraints, in the sense that there are some really aggressive targets in the EU, in the US, in the UK, virtually every developed economy in the world, every advanced economy are going, 100% electric. And even if we have emission standards and subsidies, incentives at a federal level that give that market signal, we're still competing with the rest of the world, and we're a small market at the end of the supply chain. So we have to pull every single lever that we possibly can to get supply of vehicles here. And so being able to source vehicles from territories where there is preferential supply is one of those key points. The other thing, I would love to see manufacturing of EVs here in Australia, and there's a number of companies out there that are doing that. There's ACV, there's Rove, the guys who are doing the Hilux conversions. There's Jaunt, who are doing the conversions of the
Defender.
Four-wheel drives of the Defenders, yeah. And there's a number of really great initiatives out there. I'd like to see how we could all collaborate together, particularly on the battery manufacturing side of things, that we could start to develop some level of scale so that we can get those tier 1 battery cells, or the best thing would be to manufacture here if we are able to utilize our critical minerals that we are otherwise just sending off overseas. We have a huge opportunity to provide something which is not only going to benefit everyone here in Australia, it's going to provide so many jobs, but it's also an exportable commodity as well. And we have the smarts here to do it, and we finally have the political will now to start to get that ball rolling. We just need some bold action to jump into that space. So I'm really excited about the next few months, next few years, next decade. I think we're getting there. We're finally getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, congratulations again. This is a great win for you. Obviously, the money is fantastic, but being backed by Mike Cannon-Brookes, arguably one of the top climate activists, environmentalists, electric vehicle advocates in Australia, pushing you from, to get the Good Car Company to where you need it to be. And if you can get the number of cars in the country that you hopefully you can, that'll be for the betterment of everyone.
Yeah, I think the main thing that we are looking to do is to be able to provide EVs for everyone. So affordability and the right kind of financing, the right kind of, whether it be leasing or subscription, to be able to reduce that upfront purchase price and make sure that those vehicles are cheaper to run and maintain and pay finance on than to run your regular car. And at that point, when it's like you're comparing like for like, then it's a no-brainer. That switch will be incredibly fast, I hope.
Yeah,
it's the work that you're doing and that countless other people are doing, in being able to, break down all the myths around EVs and make sure that the benefits, the pros and the cons are well known to people.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
yeah,
The more voices,
thank you
the
for all
better.
the work you do.
No,
Yeah,
thank
totally.
you. Yeah, that's very kind of
Yeah.
you, Anthony. And look, thank you for tonight too. Thank you for being part of the show tonight, and it's been great chatting with you. And if anybody else has any other questions on the live chat, put them on. I'll try to get those questions on for Anthony. And Anthony, if you're happy to stay with us for the rest of the
Yeah, of
stream, we'll
course.
go through some more slides with our regulars, Riz and Rahul. I want to put up this message here from this one, Uncle Jojo. He's tuned in. Thanks for the birthday message, Tom. It really made my day. Thanks, Uncle
Happy
Jojo.
birthday,
and happy
Uncle
birthday.
Jojo.
Indeed, happy birthday. Yeah, hope you had a good one. All right, so let's move on to our regular segments, which is, the next one is new EV sales. So this is something we'd like to do moving forward. It's a bit of a state of origin. We're going to pit each state and territory against each other here in Australia and just compare and contrast the different things that each state is doing. So for that, I might ask Riz to chat to us about this chart here. This is showing New South Wales's Tesla uptake for 2022.
Yeah, so thanks, Tom. So New South Wales obviously leading the race when it comes to EV adoption. Rahul and I, poor Victorians out here, we pay too much tax. We don't buy enough EVs. But New South Wales leading the charge there with, in August, we saw about 18.1% increase in the entire Tesla fleet. So there were, I think, just over 1,500 odd Teslas registered in that 1 month. And then it sort of grew a bit more. And we're just over 12,298 Teslas at the end of September. So that grew by roughly another 18-19%. And I mean, at that rate, we'll probably get to 17,000 Teslas in just the state of New South Wales before the end of the year. So yeah, really, really good to see New South Wales, the strategies in terms of the subsidies, the rebates, just the appetite for people to want to drive electric cars is up there. And Model Y made a large chunk of the September registrations in New South Wales for Tesla.
Yeah, and I believe Tesla Model Y was the number 3 selling car, full stop, number 3 selling car in New South Wales for September 2022, which is actually very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to this slide here, which shows BYD for the east coast of Australia. Excusing Tasmania. Sorry, Anthony. So Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria. Again, New South Wales leading the charge there, 89 sales. Victoria should be next, I'm sorry, with the population size, but Queensland is next. But we can probably maybe put that down to deliveries rather than actual issue.
It's actually I sort of dived a bit deeper into what was going on there, and we talk about New South Wales leading the charge. Our good friends in Victorian government were stopping the EV rebate from coming into action, as well as for quite a bit of the month. Eventually it went through, and now the Dandenong Experience Centre in the Southeast Melbourne is delivering quite a few cars already. So that's one of the reasons. But just put things into perspective. This is the first month that BYD has been able to deliver cars for the entire month, even with the restrictions and shortages in Victoria and getting cars to South Australia and WA. I know they have delivered a couple in Tasmania, and the reason why I don't have data on Tasmania is because the Tasmanian Road Authority has a little bit of a lag in delivery of their data to us, particularly when it goes down to breaking down into different models and brands. So I'm sure we'll see that later on in the month. But all that aside, BYD, first month of somewhat okay deliveries, and they're already the third best-selling brand, EV brand for the month in terms of deliveries. And word on the street is we'll have to probably see that more than double this month. So that will definitely put it the second best-selling EV brand in the country for the month.
Yep, as expected. And having spoken to Luke Todd, the CEO of BYD Automotive in Australia, he has promised a lot more cars coming into the country. And as Riz said, these are still early days for them. So stay tuned. We'll keep you all informed as time goes on. Now let's have a look at Australia versus the rest of the world. We'll try and get more metrics on this as time goes on, but we've got just the one slide today. And this shows, again, BYD's growth worldwide. Riz, take us through this one.
So BYD, the way they're sort of expanding, we all know that Tesla went through some Shanghai shutdowns. BYD's plants were not impacted as much. So you see in March, April, and May, when Tesla had a bit of a tough time opening the Shanghai plant, BYD continued to sort of grow their production. And they've just exceeded over 200,000 new energy vehicles, which majority of them are fully electric, but there is a combination of plug-in hybrids as well that they eventually are aiming to phase out over the coming sort of months. But yeah, they're starting to ramp up. And one little fact that's not on there is now they're also reporting what they're exporting. So they're starting to export. In September, they exported over 7,000 cars. So Australia is one of the first markets to get the ADOs, and I know Norway gets some of the BYD, Hans, and other products that we don't get here just yet. So yeah, they're clearly geared up for export.
And just quietly, I was parked next to a BYD Atto 3 today in our loaner Tesla Model Y, and the Y seemed a bit bigger than the Atto 3, just on inspection. But I'd love to actually compare them side by side a bit more. Let's have a look at the next segment, which is used EV sales. This might be of interest to Anthony as well in Australia. So this is a snapshot of Tesla Model Y and Model 3 listings in Australia over the last few months. As we know, used car sales for 3 and Ys have been increasing. And if I'm not wrong, Riz, they look like they're maybe plateauing a little bit.
Yeah, that's what's starting to happen now. I think the threes, they got up to over 610 listings a week ago, but they've come back down again. It could be because people are now starting to buy them as well. I saw, one of our audiences in the chat mentioned they've been waiting for their car since, I think, March for the Model 3. So a few people may be getting a little bit impatient with their new orders and not knowing when they're going to be getting their Model 3s when they should have gotten them months ago, are just having a look at the used car market and starting to sort of pick them. But at the same time, the prices were just far too high. We've sort of touched on this a couple of times, and the prices are also starting to come down. So it's starting to create a somewhat healthy used Tesla market. And then the Model Ys have sort of stagnated as well. They're still sitting under 140 odd listings. So anyone that is sort of waiting for one might be worth checking out car sales or Facebook Marketplace to see what's out there, but just be careful of the people that are selling them because most of them are making a bit of money. Just on the Model Y context, it's still the only deliveries that have occurred in Australia so far have been the people that placed their orders for the rear-wheel drive in the first 2 days of orders opening. So within the first week, the Model Y was around $4,000 or $5,000 cheaper. Because a week after the Model Y orders went online, Tesla increased prices. So these guys that are listing them on the used market have got the original price. So they're making at least $5,000, even if they sold it for whatever Tesla is charging at retail now. So they're making at least $5,000. And the other thing to be wary of is when you do buy the car, you will have to pay stamp duty again. Yep. So if for whatever reason you can find a bargain for $70,000 for a Model Y, when you do buy the car, you'll end up in Victoria anyway, and I know most other states are similar. You'll end up paying $2,000 to $3,000 in just stamp duty. So it will cost you 73 grand.
Yep. I think some states like New South Wales, the threshold is 78, so that you might escape it there. But that's a good point, Riz, for those states without. Greg Wilson makes a good point here, but are these used cars actually selling, or are they remaining on the platforms?
Most are still on there, especially those that are just priced way out. I'm not sure who these people are expecting. Maybe they're expecting some people that have got some Bitcoin money that may appear suddenly. Or they might win the lotto and all of a sudden they want to buy all the Teslas. But yeah, no, they're not selling as well. If you want to get rid of your old Tesla, you have to price it reasonably. People are not silly anymore.
No, that's right. There's something called the internet where you can look at prices. So, yep, note to sellers. Thank you, Riz. If anybody wants more information from Riz, make sure you check out Carloop, and that's where Riz is from. Thank you, Riz, as always. Now, I'll just show you some more slides as well. Oh, Anthony, did you have a question? Sorry.
I did. Well, it was more of a comment. I just wanted to draw your attention to one of the comments in the chat by Charles Gregory about the Model 3 sales in Tasmania. We're actually beating Tesla for sales.
Is this the one? I can vouch for the impact Good Car Company has had in its first market. Hobart, number of leads here match the number of Model 3s. Oh, well done.
And I think that's...
Oh,
That's fantastic. No, that's good. I mean, look, we welcome any competition, right? I don't think Tesla needs to be, all dominant force. The more the merrier, I say.
And they're doing an amazing job. They're doing an incredible job to bring EVs to Australia.
Yeah, interesting times ahead. Thanks, Anthony, for pointing that out. And thank you, Charles, too, for that comment. I'll just quickly highlight a few slides, which I will try and pad out as time goes on. So we'll try and do a bit of state of origin as well for government incentives, and as well for Australia versus the world in time to come. Do some DC charging stats too. Riz will provide later on. State of origin, again, Australia versus the world. And a special segment, of course, for Tesla Superchargers. And this came out this week, actually. A list of 20 Tesla Superchargers were quote-unquote leaked, not just in Australia, but worldwide. But these are the Australian sites. For those of you listening on podcast, I'll list them really quickly. So Armidale, Bairnsdale, that's in Victoria. Armidale's in New South Wales. Bairnsdale, Victoria. Blaxland, New South Wales. Brisbane South. Bundaberg, Queensland. Campbelltown, New South Wales. Dandenong, Victoria. Hobart. 2 sites in Hobart. Look at that. Holbrook, New South Wales. Kempsey, New South Wales. Lancelin, is that WA? I can't recognise. I think it's WA, isn't it?
yeah, it is WA, yeah.
Yep. Mackay in Queensland, Mandurah also WA, Miriam Vale in Queensland, Rockhampton in Queensland, Tenterfield, New South Wales, Wagga Wagga, New South Wales, Wheelers Hill in Victoria, Wollongong, New South Wales, and I can't pronounce that, Blenheim?
Yeah, too. That's in New Zealand.
Oh, New Zealand. I'm sorry, New Zealand.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's really interesting because we do need more Tesla Superchargers here, gentlemen, for sure. Given that more Teslas are coming.
Just on that Wagga Wagga charging site, was that a gift from Gladys?
Why do you say that?
Oh, there was some money that was sent towards Wagga when she was the anyway.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Bad joke.
I mean, don't know. I mean, has that come out in the commission yet? Commission hearing?
No, she's at Optus doing a good job.
Poor old Optus, copped a beating.
Riz, I think Gladys would have a response for you in a B.
Rahul was just waving his hand there for those listening. Yeah, but more on a serious note, I'm glad to see more chargers coming, for sure. Look, Tesla obviously leading the way with DC charging, but with Anthony bringing more cars in and BYD bringing more cars, we need the other third-party charging companies to step up, for sure. But great to see. All right, next segment is EV charging eye candy. So I love this segment because we try and put in pictures from overseas and just whet the appetite of our local viewers and producers here. The first one is from my good self. I went to Singapore in the last 2 weeks and I snapped this picture here. It's just a picture of some DC chargers at a workplace car park. 120 kilowatts, 60 kilowatts, 60 kilowatts. It's a very tidy install, very well signed. This is the kind of thing we need to see.
And just on that one, Tom, like, you know, the Ampol chargers we have here now, we can't twin charge a car on them. Like, you can't have two, and this is what we need. Would rather have a charger that can feed two cars, because that's what that sign I think is saying. It's either one single 120 and two cars 60 kilowatt each. So yeah, the more we can get these type of chargers here, the better it is.
Yep. And I had a look at those chargers. I think they were both CCS2, as opposed to Ampol here. And a lot of DC chargers have got CCS2 and CharDemo. I suppose if Anthony's bringing more leaves, then we may need those CharDemo chargers as well. The next one is from Barcelona in Spain. Again, a beautiful install for those listening. It looks honestly like a petrol station. It's covered, well signed, and yeah, it's there's like 8 chargers there. So I'd love to see like multiple stalls for the third-party chargers. This one's from Canada. Again, looks like a petrol station, multiple charging stalls, well signed.
And that's actually outside. The last one's out. I'm pretty sure it's outside Dam. So it's BC Hydro. I think it's British Columbia Hydro. They seem to be doing quite a lot of good work in installing chargers close to their power plants and where they have the big dams. And, you know, dams can be a good tourist attraction. I know in Tassie, I was going to visit a dam. I told Charles about it. But lucky he warned me it's like 30 Ks off like a paved road. I wasn't going to make it back if I went down that way. But they've got one. They've got a charger just outside a dam, an old dam that's, I guess, no longer being used, but they have a power plant there and a museum. So, yeah, more dams in Australia need to get a few of these chargers and people will go and visit. And, yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's a novel, well, I shouldn't say novel, but it's a way of powering those chargers, right, through renewable energy, for sure. Now, this one, we've been following this one for a while, haven't we, guys? This is from Coventry University in the UK, this wireless charging for their taxi rank, which is a great idea. Maybe even for Uber or ride-sharing cars one day as well. And if you're on a rank, you can charge up as you wait. That's very cool. And the next one is from Glasgow. It looks pretty nice as well. Again, tidy install, multiple stalls. This one's next to a Burger King and Starbucks. So, again, amenities nearby. This one's a nice location in France. Tesla Superchargers. Covered. Hopefully solar on top. Next to a food outlet. And this one was supplied, again, from France. Tesla Owners Club France pictured this one with lots of supercharger stalls. Look at that. It's beautiful. It's about 10 to 20 there. Very nice. And the next segment is spotted. So a few of us in the media saw a Rivian in Sydney, at Sydney Airport. So obviously getting tested here in Sydney. It's got that zebra camouflaging. So yeah, very cool to see. I'll try and keep my eye out for that if it's still around. Be great to get into a Rivian.
I think somebody might have even pointed out that this is the Rivian truck rather than the Ute. But yeah, it'd be great to have Rivian bring their product to Australia. I think they would sell well.
Yeah, 100%. Before the Cybertruck comes. You see who gets here first. And then this was spotted as well in China. Tesla Model S Plaid spotted in China. They're not actually made in China, so they must have obviously been imported. So there you go. Very interesting. All right, let's move on to the next segment, EV events. So Riz, tell us about this one coming up in Doncaster.
Yeah, so this is going to be one of the larger events that we've had. It's been a long time coming. It's been organised by a couple of the Rotary clubs in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, around Doncaster way. So I was sort of involved in helping them organise it, and they're expecting around 3,000 people to visit, with stalls from Australian EV Association, Tesla Owners Club. A few manufacturers are bringing their cars. I'll be coming in with a special electric car, not mine, and it might be a show stealer, this one.
Oh,
So yeah, so that's going to happen later on this month. Anyone's interested, there'll be kids' activities and a whole lot of other things as well, and seminars. So Jet Charge will be there talking about some of the things that they're doing, RACV, and a couple of other companies as well, giving out informative seminars, not really selling anything. So if you're in the area, come on down, and yeah, just check out this event and the other events that Tom will be sharing too.
yeah. Riz, is always very intriguing what car you're bringing down, so cannot wait for that one. For those near me in Sydney, there is an event in Willoughby in Chatswood coming up this weekend. EV showcase there. There's a few EVs and other things to look at. Anthony, I guess these are the kind of events you want to try to partner with for these bulk buys?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're a good place to showcase as many electric vehicles as possible. And we also have the event at Randwick City Council on the 22nd of October as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, so make sure you head down to Randwick if you want to meet Anthony and the crew and talk EVs and bulk buys, of course. And I can actually, breaking news tonight for myself, Rahul, and Riz. As you all know, Fully Charged Live is coming to Sydney in March. And just be confirmed from the marketing and PR team that we will be getting media passes, the three of us, for Fully Charged Live. I've put in an application to have a stall as well for maybe a couple of live streams for those of you who can't attend. If you're in Sydney for Fully Charged Live next year, make sure you come and say hello to us. We should be there, so stay tuned. More information coming up, of course. And a pledge from Team JG. Big thank you to Riz for helping my LG Net Zero transportation work group out yesterday, and for you, Tom, for putting me onto him. Much appreciated. Keep up the great work, all of you, Jim. Thank you, Team JG. Great work, Riz.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, sorry about the reception. I was in Ballarat testing out an EV, and yeah, got cut out there. But yeah, no, good to be part of, helping anyone that wants to come on the transition journey.
Great work. All right, let's rip through these next few slides. So we'll just run through some news in the Tesla space real quick. Of course, I'll just quickly touch on this again. Yes, so Model Y performance has been delayed. I think, Riz, we had a bit of a theory about this, in that they're trying to batch all the orders because it's just not enough for the last few months.
It's a bit of a combination, right? Like, I think part of it is that, part of it is they may have had a few cancellations as well, due to interest rates going up and people are unable to lock in some of the finances, especially if it's a 3-month sort of finance situation. But at the same time, some people have stated, well, we've seen Model Y performances in Japan, or Singapore, one of the two, but I'm sure they were there just for the show. Like, they were there as like demo cars. So like, we've got a demo car in Australia. It's just in Melbourne. There is a Model Y. There's only one Model Y performance registered, and that's in Melbourne. And I think Tom's was told about it a couple of weeks ago, and we've sort of seen pictures of it as well. So I think it's more logistical issues for them. And Elon mentioned that in the last sort of Q3 earnings call as well, that there's issues around logistics and getting stuff out of China at the moment. And if they can't build enough in a batch, then shipping wise it'll cost them too much.
Yep.
So it'd be interesting to see, but hopefully a fair few people like yourself, Tom, get their performances in the first quarter of next year.
Yep. Christmas will come around, New Year's will be next, and then it'll be January before you know it. So we're not too worried
2
at
weeks.
this stage. 2 weeks, that's right. It's always 2 weeks away. AI Day was last couple of weeks. That bot's looking a bit more humanoid or android, isn't it? Doing mundane tasks, as Elon has mentioned. Rahul, thoughts on the bot? Would you want that in your house?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a stay-at-home dad at the moment, so yeah, that would definitely help me out with my daily chores. All for it. Yeah, I'd love a test drive of that.
Maybe burp the baby.
Absolutely, yeah. For those who don't know, I've got a 6-month-old and a 4-year-old, so the house is always clutter. This would definitely help.
Yeah, that's always fascinating to see AI Day and see how that bot's progressing year to year. Quickly, Elon Musk announced the start of Tesla semi-trucks with deliveries to Pepsi on December 1st. So that will obviously be a very big order for the Tesla Semi. Great work. And Tesla has removed ultrasonic sensors from new Model 3 and Y builds, and soon Model S and X as well. So it will be pretty much just camera-based from now on. And as I said earlier, Tesla has jumped to the number 3 selling vehicle in Australia for September 2022. Amazing feat for an EV for sure. I think I read somewhere it was the number 1 SUV, if I'm not wrong. I'll have to double check
I think the first 2 were Utes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. First 2 were Utes, and the third one was Model Y, the SUV.
Yeah. I mean, to beat a lot of cars on the way there, to get there to number 3, you think of the Corollas, the Mazdas, the ones that sell in bulk. So great work to Tesla Australia. And looks like Tesla Model S and X enter China's list of purchase tax exemptions. So that kind of fits with that Model S Plaid that we saw in China as well. Let's whip through these BYD news items as well real quick. And as we mentioned earlier, deliveries are coming into Australia, hopefully thick and fast very soon. Atto 3 prices are rising overseas.
Yes, in New Zealand.
Yep. So we may not, we may see that as well in Australia very shortly. Other EV news, the Polestar 3 was released yesterday out of that box. Literally, and this is the overseas pricing, but I'll just, you guys probably can't see it, but I'll read this out to you. So the Polestar, you can't order one yet, by the way, in Australia. They're just teasing us with the pricing, but the long-range dual motor, you're looking at $145,591.80 at the base model. So not cheap, I guess, by most people's standards. But look, it is a lovely-looking car. The interior looks very similar to the Polestar 2 layout. And looking forward to seeing these in the country. I saw a comment on LinkedIn before about another unaffordable EV, but people who can afford this price range, at least they've got this option to buy EVs now. Instead of buying another quote unquote luxury vehicle, you've got Polestar to choose from as well. So I think horses for courses. And for Victorians, Polestar is opening a space or a showroom in Chadstone Shopping Centre in Melbourne. That's coming, am I allowed to say this? Yes, I am. I was told I could say this, summer 2022 from Polestar. So, yeah, December, January, February, that's summer, isn't it? So, hopefully not too far away. I'll try and get down there if I can to check it out. All right, and... sorry, did I not? There we go, that's the picture coming soon. In Chadstone. And electric utes are finally being shipped to Australia, as we mentioned earlier. LDV, which is owned by SAIC, Shanghai Automotive Industrial Corporation, which actually owns MG now. They're bringing the LDV ute confirmed to Australia. So that may silence some critics, hopefully, and get people interested, especially tradespeople. There was a bit of a story this week about MG4 taking pre-orders. I looked a bit further into this. It's not really it's not an official pre-order, is it, Riz? It's more of a put your money down to your local dealership and hope for the best.
That's right. I mean, you can put your money in many different locations to gain a bit of interest. But if you want to make no money on your $1,000 or whatever the deposit is, hand it to your local MG dealer and they'll look after you. But I mean, traditionally with other brands, and I've placed orders on cars before where they haven't even been globally launched yet, and any dealer will take your credit card details and $500 and just draft you a contract to say you are in the queue. Probably not even worth the paper it's written on, but in this case as well, dealers will take orders, hoping that MG will launch, which I think it's pretty promising they will if they're launched quite a few of them in the UK. I just not sure in terms of how many they can get here in the first half of next year. So those that do put a deposit on might be waiting a while.
Yeah, for those who don't know, MG4 is the first ground up EV from MG. So looking forward to seeing that. I guess supply might be an issue as well for Australian orders. Yeah, we'll watch this space. And I just want to bring your attention to this new concept EV. Well, it's not really concept because it says here electric SUV Honda Prologue revealed for the American market. Look, I'm a secret Honda fan. I quite like what they do, and I'm glad they're bringing out the Prologue. I've seen the Honda E up close. It's a very cute little car, but this looks quite like a serious family car. For those listening on podcasts, it's I would say an SUV type car, little crossover. I think it'll compete with BYD Atto 3 and probably the Model Y, that sort of category.
It's probably more Model Y size. It's a little bit bigger than the Honda CR-V, which is the mid-sized SUV they sell here. It's a similar size to another Honda model. I can't remember what it's called, but it's sold in the States. It's bigger than the CR-V. So it's, it should be slightly larger than a mid-sized SUV when it does come out in 2024. But yeah, good to see traditional manufacturers coming on board.
Yeah, let's hope Honda is a bit more serious than Toyota at the moment. Sorry to heap dung on Toyota again, but until they get serious, we will continue to do so on this stream. So Toyota, please make more EVs. And finally, the last slide is, look, it's not really EV related, but this is a tweet from Doug DeMuro. It's about electronic license plates. He says, here's a sentence I never thought I'd say. This license plate is downloading an update. What do you guys think about electronic license plates? Think of the future or just a novelty?
They can make the cars a bit safer, but in the States, I didn't think you needed a number plate in the front. So maybe for people in the back, if it's got in the back of the car, if there's a hazard of some sort ahead or whatever, maybe. But I think they're pretty expensive. Every year you got to pay a certain amount of money to the license plate company to keep it on. It's like a few $100s to keep the plate on. So cool stuff.
I think it might eventually catch on, given the fact that, would that be correct in assuming, Tom? I don't know about New South Wales, but is New South Wales now have digital licenses, or they're trialing? I guess that's a way of the future. They might come as an option. California is obviously always leading in terms of innovation. May trickle down to Australia eventually.
I honestly think that we're not going to have license plates in the future. I mean, we'll have a digital fingerprint of the vehicles that can be read by a remote reader. It's only really useful for authorities anyway. So,
correct.
If the car has its own little print that can communicate, then that'd probably be enough.
Yeah, I suppose if we used to be taught to take down the license plate if you get into trouble, but maybe the car can now press the thing on the screen, capture that plate or capture that signature or whatever. So I like it.
As long as it doesn't have an Optus SIM in it, it's all good.
Poor old Optus. I suppose with this number plate, you can, if you're trying to blank it out, you can say to the police, well, it's downloading a software update, I'm sorry. That's one excuse. Look at this. Why not a QR code plate? Ooh, sticking outside the square. I like it. Thanks, Sarah. Yes, okay. And we'll, in the future episodes, we will have some renewable energy news as well. Nothing tonight, but that's okay. All right, so before we wrap up, I just want to quickly thank our live stream partners again tonight, Jaua, Hansho, and EVSC. So make sure you check out those websites. We've got 5%, 15% off, and 5% off coupon codes, respectively, for each company. Check them out for your accessories and charging needs. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us, particularly to Anthony from the Good Car Company again for joining us. Anthony?
Thanks, Anthony.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Just want to wish you all the very best with your, I guess, that new investment and the next few months coming up. I'm sure it's going to be very exciting.
Thank you very much.
And also regulars, Riz and Rahul. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Tom. Good to have you back.
Thank you.
And yeah, just quickly want to say to Anthony, thanks for staying for the whole stream, mate. And literally, mind blown, amazed by what you, Anton, and Sam are doing with Good Car Company. Just ground up work, passionate people, knowledgeable, jumping through hoops, hurdles, obstacles to bring this to Australia. Just your goal of, aligning your values with the right impact investor as well has just paid dividends. So congratulations, mate. Wish you much success moving forward. Great work.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Cheers.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah, well said, Rahul. That's exactly right. Totally reiterate those sentiments. And thank you to everyone who's watching on live tonight. Thank you for all your comments and questions. Thank you for watching on replay. Thank you for making this far. And thank you for watching our very first podcast replay as well. So thank you all, and we shall all see you at the next Ludicrous Feed Live. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye now.